How you doing?
Good. So I'm a couple of minutes late, buddy.
That's cool. I was just listening to my favorite gym song, actually. Just getting pumped. Sorry?
What's your favorite gym song?
It's You Sexy Thing by Hot Chocolate. No, I'm just fucking with you. It's probably more like Bulls on Parade from Rage, I'd say.
Nice.
How about you?
Nice.
How about you?
Favorite gym song? Motley Crue, maybe, or Akadaka, or I do Daft Punk and stuff's good to run to.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
That Motley Crue doco is unreal, eh? Have you watched it?
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's so rad.
Awesome.
Hey, listen, I know you're going to be short on time, so we'll just get kicking. Of course, we spoke on the phone earlier and you gave me a bit of a rundown, but I'm going to ask some of the same questions.
Yeah.
And a bunch of it also in a bit more depth. So, sorry, I'll just remove that. So basically, we're going to go under the hood here with you, Sam Wood, and we're going to find out a bunch about your history, a bunch about what's coming up in the future, of course, about your current businesses, like 28 by Sam Wood. In fact, you targeted me on Facebook this morning, which I thought was very amusing. Well done. I'd only clicked on your shit about once, and you're already hammering me, but that's excellent. So, Sam, please tell me a little bit about what's happened in the past and maybe your first businesses, how that started, what might have inspired you to get there.
Sure thing, Jock. Nice to talk to you, buddy. Look, it's that old adage, I guess, 20 years to become an overnight success. It's one of those quotes you hear all the time and you have a bit of a smile on your face because it's so true. 28 is my third business. I've in essence been working for myself as a contractor or running my own company's businesses for 20 years now. And it started as a contractor personal trainer where you kind of get to dip your toe in the water, learn about, tax and marketing and budgeting and all of that kind of thing without having the serious headaches, I guess, of 5-year lease terms and all that kind of stuff. So that was a nice little foray into it, but it was a really powerful discovery for me that I did like kind of being in control of my own destiny. It's funny, my dad has always worked for himself. He's always had businesses in hospitality, restaurants, cafes, etc. Still does. And I'm a bit the same. I don't like being at a desk a lot. I'm kind of a bit more creative and I like, I've got a really good team around me now, but they'd be the first to tell you that if it was up to me to actually execute all of the ideas that I had, we wouldn't be a very successful business. They kind of come from me. And then I'm definitely a part of the process at different points in time. But, I need really good, reliable, effective, smart people around me to make sure those things get executed. But I guess it just taught me that I don't like to sit still and I like being in charge. I like being in charge. I like making the decisions, acting on the decisions, and I'm happy to reap the rewards or fall on the sword. It's my fault if things stuff up. Yes. And I should be really proud of myself if things become a success, and they haven't always become a success, but I sort of learnt very early on that you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want to be able to take the pats on the back, you've got to be, brave enough and strong enough and, comfortable enough to put your hand up when you stuff up and things don't work out as well. And they haven't always worked out. I had in 2006, I launched Australia's first ever kids gym, and it wasn't a failure by any stretch. It was Gecko Sports. So we ran after school programs, birthday parties, Junior Gecko, which is a 3 to 5 year old preschool developmental program, incursions for schools, excursion for schools. And it was for primary school kids because a lot of the work I did in my early days as a personal trainer really sort of shined a light on the fact that so many kids weren't getting the amount of physical activity they needed through PE and through other, other areas. That it was fascinating how many clients I was getting that were kids doing personal training. And I worked in a fairly wealthy area of Melbourne in Brighton, and I was charging, $70, $80 a session for kids to see me in a personal training context. And it kind of frustrated me that they were getting such benefits from it, but the barrier to that was price.
Yes, price.
So, not very many people can afford to send their child to a personal trainer. It was a bit excessive and a bit crazy. So I opened Gecko in 2006, which was Australia's first ever kids gym, which for $20 a week, you could send your kids along to these fun, structured activity programs where they worked on strength and balance and stamina and coordination and balance and flexibility and all this other stuff. So, but yeah, it was really hard because it was a great business when we were one standalone brick and mortar
and you were there,
practice, and I was there all the time. Sorry, what was that?
You were doing sales, you were doing training, you were doing a bit of everything with the one gym?
Yeah, I did everything. So yeah, I had my fingerprints across everything, taking the classes, doing the marketing. It was such a steep learning curve into all the different facets of having your own business. The things that I naturally kind of was drawn to were the things that I was good at. I definitely neglected, to my own detriment, the things that I didn't enjoy as much and needed a good sort of kick in the pants when it came to.
What were they? What were those things?
Probably, I had the blinkers on. I was so optimistic. I was so passionate about it. I'm a pretty positive, nothing's going to stop me type of person. So I think, and it's you by yourself. You didn't really have anyone to kind of go, hang on a second there, mate. You're spending too much money, or you're not budgeting properly, or you're spending money before you paid your BAS. That's going to come and bite you in the bum at some stage. All things that I'm sure all business owners can relate to. But I was so hell bent on this thing being, hundreds of locations Australia wide, and that I probably lost track a little bit of just how hard it was to grow a business at that speed and scale a business that was so people reliant.
Yes.
You had that was our greatest my greatest challenge, was finding the right licensees or the right franchisee candidates to be able to grow at the rate that I wanted to, without still maintaining quality control.
So when you had one, it was going really well, except you were kind of there similarly doing everything. And did you want to grow it because of like the impact you believe you could make, or was there a mix there because there was like a bit of, I think I can make heaps of money? What was sort of the motivating factor to want to have 100? I mean, maybe having 3 or something is...
No, the motivating factor was definitely to be able to create the impact that I was looking for. These need to be in every major state, or area. Like, no one was coming from 40 minutes away from Hawthorn to Brighton. So it was already becoming apparent that for parents to bring their kids to something after school, it probably needed to be within 20-minute drive of school or home. So you're going to need a whole lot of these if you're really going to be able to help the amount of kids and families that you want to. But you also, when we had one, and it was so, basketball rings and running tracks and boxing bags, and we imported little rowers and little bikes from overseas, it was really had some real wow factor. And you develop such a great relationship with the kids and their parents that, 15 times a day I'd hear, Sam, this is the best thing since sliced bread. You need to open more of these. And that was coming from beautiful parents who, one, loved the concept, and two, wanted to see me do well. But these things are easier said than done. You can't, clone yourself, and you can't be in more than one place at once. And they were the continual challenges with that business of just scaling it without being able to clone myself.
So how did you come to the conclusion of trying franchising?
Well, we started off licensing, Jock. We licensed the program, equipment, branding, packaged it up in a nice little package, and we licensed it to existing gyms that didn't have an offering for children. There was a lot of positives in that model. The negative was gyms tend to have a high turnover of staff.
Sure.
And they tend to try lots of different things per year, per quarter, whatever it is. And it became obvious pretty quickly that when the initial couple of staff that I'd done a lot of work with left, and now it was about the TRX program or the CrossFit program, it got bumped further and further down the priority list, and the execution of the program suffered accordingly. Equipment was not getting looked after. Marketing was not getting executed like it did when we first had this big wow factor launch. Early on, almost all, if not all of them did really well, but it was more that sustainable profitability became tougher and tougher to achieve. So we worked out, the light bulb moment was, we need to sell this to someone that this is their sole bit, not the gym buying it, the person buying it, someone that cares as much as I do about getting kids moving and fit and active. So we shifted from a licensee model to a franchise model, and that was much more successful. There was 40 franchises around Australia when I eventually sold that business to one of the existing franchisees, and it's still going well today. Was it the life-changing business that I could, I sort of had in my head where there was 1 million kids every week doing Gecko and I was a very successful man because of it? No, it wasn't. Did it have an element of success, and did it teach me some very, very valuable lessons that I think have absolutely helped with my current success?
Yes.
You bet. Unequivocally, yes.
Sure. And so what are some of those key lessons? I know everyone seems to have there's a lot of franchises out there, and there's a lot of horror stories with franchises. What sort of was your experience, and what did that really teach you?
Well, the biggest lesson is a positive one, and that was don't give up. Because after 10 years in that business and selling it and probably losing more money than I made, I paid myself a salary, but if I took the salary away, there wasn't a heap financially left to show. It would have been easy for me to go, maybe I need to take the safe route and work for someone else, de-risk. I didn't even think to do that. It was kind of like, right, learn some lessons there. What can I do next? So I absolutely think the most important lesson was, thank God I didn't give up.
Sure.
But I guess, probably more, this is the most valuable thing. I guess it was teaching me the whole time, you can't clone yourself. But you have something quite special. The way you got really busy as a personal trainer, probably faster than the most, and you had a brilliant rapport with your 100 clients, and the way your one Gecko centre was bursting at the seams and had a waiting list of kids, but you couldn't then duplicate that.
Yeah.
And so I think it probably planted the seed in my head that if there was a way I could get me to more people through other means, then that would work quite well. And in a weird way, that's effectively what 28, my online program, now allows me to do. The quality of streaming and technology and video, coaching, having a highly sophisticated behavior-based tech platform, app platform, allowing you to customize people's experience as they need. It allows me to now be the personal trainer in your pocket to hundreds of thousands of people every day without having to see them face to face.
Yeah.
And, so that was a huge learning. And I guess if I'm being really critical of myself, it also showed me what I was good at, what I was bad at. And if I was going to do this again, what are the holes that need to be filled? And, as I sit here with 28, being a business that I'm incredibly proud of today, and we're not even 5 years old, I know that success is partially because of me, but it's also because of these brilliant people in really key positions that I'll get the privilege of working with every day.
So I had a similar transition from being sort of like the sole brain, do everything, whatever. I did it twice, in fact. And only late into my second business was I sort of able to overcome this expectation barrier I had of people, which was, if I'm willing to work 12 hours a day and execute like this and do these things, then you should too. And I had massive staff turnover, and I couldn't really appreciate other people's skill sets, and I certainly didn't know how to get the best out of them. How did you learn, like, good, bad, ugly, to get to the point now where you have sort of like an excellent team? I think you said, was it 25 full-time at the moment?
Yep.
How did you transition from being a sole operator into being able to sort of have a highly functioning team?
I think it's a combination of things. I think it's an understanding that not everyone's wired and driven like you, so don't treat them all the same. I think that personal touch becomes really, really important, which with 25 people is absolutely achievable. And, even if we're 100 people, it would still be a very important thing that I would make sure happened. But, different people are sort of incentivized or driven through different things. And I think you need to get to know people on a nice personal level and build that rapport to understand that. But I also think from a hiring perspective, you hire as much on culture and fit as you do on skill set to ensure that they're, we get to change people's lives every single day. And I absolutely know that my brilliant staff are the way that they are because they give a shit.
Sure.
They love coming to work each day and seeing the impact that they have on people's lives. And it's, I think that really carries across. But also reward your team. I think if I succeed or 28 succeeds, they should see part of that success. This is not a me thing. This is how many lives can we change, not how much money can we make. And I think, you want them to buy into that. The more lives that we change, the more you will be rewarded financially, in other ways, whatever kind of floats your boat.
Yes.
We've got really good buy-in with that. The whole team's kind of on the same page to where we're at, what we want to achieve. And even as the team grows, we're not losing any of that kind of closeness and that real buy-in that we have as a collective.
Across almost every interview that I've done with sort of relatable, really amazing business owners like yourself, that sort of culture piece is almost the common denominator, in fact. Well, fucking up on your own accord a few times in order to learn the hard lessons, and then finding something that really fits you and having sort of like this culture and this why that you seem to drive home so hard. Is there a way that you, like, anything special you do in terms of like building that culture? Do you have like a culture code, or is there a way you guys operate like with freedom or transparency? Anything like that you can share?
We've got a values board that it sits, front and center in our boardroom. We revisit it at the start of every one of our Monday morning meetings, not for 10 minutes, for 10 seconds, but we also share the success stories of 28ers, because when you get caught up in a subscription-based business, it's so easy to fall into the trap of focusing on numbers, not focusing on humans. And when you share, and we share a powerful 28 story on a weekly basis with the whole team, which is a bit different doing it via Zoom as we are at the moment down here in Melbourne. But, to be able to sit there and share a little 60-second story about someone's life who has genuinely changed because of the program, and then to remind everybody that it doesn't matter if you're an app developer, a customer service person, or me, we all
contributed.
We were all part of that, I think is really, really important. And then, just celebrating quarterly the team's success. We have quarterly goals, targets, and we make sure that if we achieve those, that we celebrate. And if we don't achieve those, we reflect back to perhaps why we didn't, and we at least learn from it. And then
probably
just other
celebrate.
What's that?
And probably still celebrate.
Yeah, not quite to the same degree, but yeah, I think a lot of hard work still went into that quarter, and the fact that you fall a little bit short shouldn't get completely dismissed. But just little things, our CEO David is a brilliant guy. He's very, very conscious of how hard everyone's doing at the moment. We had a resilience expert come in and do a 2-hour Zoom coaching session with the entire team 2 Mondays ago, just to sort of give people some really practical tools that they could use if they're doing it a bit tough. Because I think you kind of, when you see people face to face, you can read their body language, and you get caught up in these kind of water cooler chats, and you can see if someone's doing well or doing not. It's much harder. Everyone kind of puts on a brave face and says they're doing perhaps better than they are. So yeah, just staying close. We've got some really nice friendships within the group. Our tech team's incredibly close with each other. Our customer service team, do lots of social activities together, and the same with the creative content guys. So I think once that happens, it almost naturally happens from within, because those things can't really be forced.
Yeah. So can you give me a short outline? So you sold Gecko, the franchise, to one of the franchisees.
Yes.
What happened between then and starting 28? Why did you start 28? How did that come about? Let's just go from there to 28.
So 2015, Feb 1st of 2016, apologies. Feb 1st of 2016 was when 28 launched. So we're 4.5 years old. At that point in time, I had Gecko, I had just launched 28, and I owned my personal training gym, The Woodshed. And it was because I had all of those 3 balls in the air at once that Gecko got sold. I loved Gecko, but I was just stretching myself too thin, and I didn't want to do it a disservice. So Gecko then left. I still own The Woodshed today. We're closed at the moment because of COVID, but it's a brilliant 1,000 square metre state-of-the-art training facility here in Melbourne with 25 trainers and small group studio, strength studio. It's a really cool place to train and educate. And we've got a beautiful team that work out of there. It's something I'm really proud of. But a lot of the trainers are contractors. A lot of the members have been with me for 10 years, and it doesn't need a lot of my time. So yeah, I now spend 95% of my working efforts and energy on 28, just because that's my newest baby. It's the one that excites me the most. It's the one that's most scalable. And in 4.5 years, we've had nearly 500,000 Australians do the program, and kind of feel like we're just getting started, mate.
That's nuts. So when you began with 28, what did you begin with, and how did you decide that was the go? That was a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, the platform was web only,
right? And is it a third party platform, or was
it's not now? It's all custom built in house, but it was then. Yeah, so it was a website only program, and to answer your question, it was a combination of the amount of inquiry that I was getting with people wanting help with remote workouts, online programs, recipes,
and
support.
They knew you through The Woodshed?
Through The Bachelor predominantly, through social media, through The Bachelor.
Okay.
So yeah, it was definitely, I'd always wanted to have something online perhaps that just catered for my Woodshed members.
Sure.
But being on The Bachelor gave me such national exposure that it became really obvious really fast that lots of people wanted programs and eating plans and that kind of.
Were you the bachelor?
I was sorry, I kind of skipped over that point. I don't see it as part of my business career as such, but it was definitely it was a fascinating chapter in my life. Yeah, in 2015, mate, I was the bachelor.
True.
And I met Snejana, who's my wife, and Evie, who's my little girl, and we now have two more little girls. So I've got 3 girls and a beautiful wife. And mate, I met through that crazy roller coaster of a show. But
the only bachelor ever that actually stayed with the partner. I don't.
There's 2 others, mate. There's 2 others actually. He's got an.
You've been counting.
But yeah, it's yeah. I mean, that just that absolutely helped my social media following explode. Gave me a lot more sort of national exposure. Taught me a lot about myself. I mean, most importantly, allowed me to meet Snej and Eve. But it was once the inquiry started coming in, and to be honest, mate, I'd always looked at other online programs, and some of them are good, some of them are not that good. A lot of them are really intense, hardcore workouts and very restrictive eating plans, and they kind of went against my entire progress, not perfection philosophy. I mean, the content that I launched 28 with was a culmination of 15 years of what I'd learnt in the industry and what I'd used to get great success with my clients. And that was short, sharp workouts, making sure you're actually giving them proper nutrition, ensuring that they're properly motivated and supported, and working with them in 28-day blocks from a goal setting perspective. So 28 is 28-minute workouts and 28-day goal setting. And I'd worked with, 400 or 500 clients over a 15-year personal training career. And that's what I'd always done, food diaries and goal setting and all this kind of stuff, and had an incredibly high level of success. So it was about, how do I digitize that? How do I let them come onto a web platform, still get to have direct contact with me? And so the real-time support, the real-time motivation, the daily videos that I do, I've always done since day one. It's been a real unique part of the program that I do that no one else does.
Each day you do it and send
every
it out
day,
to everyone. Every
morning they get a real-time video. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world, what's going on in our lives. Some days, multiple videos.
What if you're hungover or something like that?
No, well, I tell them I'm hungover. I tell them. I keep it real. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's they love it. Authenticity, relatability, and sustainability are key. And and you have to be really authentic. A lot of people, I think, pretend they're one way, but they're not, or they don't really understand their audience from an empathy perspective because they're a 20-year-old Instagram girl who's never been overweight or, has.
I checked out your Instagram.
They're gifted with beautiful genetics. Yeah, people want you to keep it real. And I think, we're in lockdown with kids everywhere and it's pretty manic. And rather than pretend your life's all, beautiful and perfect, it's nice to share that stuff with them. So, that was. And it's interesting, you do that stuff and it's quite confronting because you're kind of really exposing yourself, and your personal life and your business life are kind of coming together. And then you get the feedback of, Sam, I love how real you are. Mate, early days, I was dressing up in Snej's clothing and I got her to stand behind a mirror, and I would walk in and stand in front of this mirror with a handbag on my elbow. And I would say, this is what you're going to say to yourself this morning, ladies. You are a beautiful, confident woman, and go get them. And I'd say that to the mirror. Snez would be rolling around on the floor laughing as I'd be in one of her skin-tight dresses. But they loved it because I was taking the piss a little bit. I wasn't taking myself too seriously. And in the fitness space, people are the opposite. Sure. You got to count your calories and put that beer down, and you got to do your 60 minutes of exercise, and you missed your workout today, and they make you feel guilty about it, and they make the whole experience quite unenjoyable and definitely not sustainable. We're the opposite. We're like, if you don't work out today or you eat a hamburger, that's all right. Don't beat yourself up about it. Get back on the horse tomorrow and away you go. And the world's not going to end because you had a few beers or you missed a healthy meal. No. And guess what? It doesn't end. You end up being healthy and happy rather than having a six-pack but being bloody miserable.
Totally. Been there, done that. One of the things I see, and what I love about that is, actually 12 years ago or something or other like that, I was a personal trainer. And
yeah, right.
I felt like, I had no idea what I was doing really in terms of motivating people. I didn't understand anyone. I was just doing it because I was fit and strong, really. I think that's what most people start with. But what I see still in that industry is the lack of understanding of how to motivate people and support them while they're not with you for that 1 hour a week. Yeah. I see that I just see that everywhere. And I think that's super interesting, the way that you're approaching it.
Mate, well, you've hit the nail on the head, because that's what an online program allows you to do so much better than face-to-face training. 168 hours in a week, and I used to train people 2 or 3 times a week, and they were brilliant when they were with me.
Exactly.
Then they'd go home,
for the rest of the time,
too much, eat too much, miss their workouts, sleep in. It didn't matter how great their intentions were. It didn't really happen. Whereas if you're, the way we promote 28 is, personal trainer in your pocket.
Yeah.
It literally is like, I'm with you every step of the way. And I don't just tell you what to eat. I show you what to eat. I don't just say you should be motivated. I help motivate you. And I think, the beauty of a sophisticated online program is it doesn't matter if you've got 10 members or 100 members or 100,000 members. That bespoke, customized, real experience doesn't change.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. And how did you, so when you first started 28, how many sort of like members or whatever did you start with, and what were you giving them? What's sort of like the growth journey?
Yeah, it's interesting. The pillars haven't changed. We still are workouts, eating plan or nutrition, and mindfulness or mind. Mm-hmm. And mind is meditations, sleep, motivation, goal setting. It's kind of a myriad of anything to do with your sort of psychology. The quality of the content and the breadth of the content has absolutely expanded as we've grown and continue to reinvest in the quality of the program. More trainers, more workouts, more recipes, more experts in mindfulness and sleep and this kind of thing. The price point was $49 a month. We're now $59 a month. We've been $59 for the last 2 years. But for us, it's now not about jacking prices up. It's about adding value. So we just continue to, value add. What more can we give our members without changing the price? Mm-hmm. Vegetarian eating plans, immunity boosting, whatever, whatever's relevant to the now and whatever they tell us. They basically drive our tech pipeline.
Sure.
So, we have the capability for them to go online and vote for what they think the program needs. And it's a hierarchy. Whatever's got the most votes sits at the top of the leaderboard. And myself, our CEO, our CTO can jump in any time and see what the people want, what the 28 family want, and we give them what they want. We're not here to take money away and, go and sit on a boat. We're on a mission to make this the best program in the world, and grow the 28 family from tens of thousands of people to hundreds of thousands of people. So we're just reinvesting everything back into making the tech better, making the content better, increasing the recipes, bringing more experts on board as the members grow. We've got 8 full-time customer service people now. They're called Sam's Crew. They work, day and night, 7 days a week to ensure that people get help, because a lot of these programs, they're cheap, but they're very set and forget. Every person gets the same experience. There's no real-time support. There's no real variety. It might work for a small portion of people, but everyone's different when it comes to getting in shape. Your genetics, your age, your gender, what you've tried before, your psychology, and they need to be treated accordingly, or you're not going to have a high level of success with many of your members.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about the 49 and 59 price point, and sort of just jamming in as much content, like value as you possibly can for the membership base, because of course we're demonstrating with BFR like sort of a similar journey.
Yep.
And we've been going for, I can't do the maths, let's call it 8 days or something so far, or 9 days, 8 or 9, anyway. And we started with of course we do the interviews, and then we've got all the templates that are sort of like best practice, and we'll find out some stuff about you that we might be able to build as well. But at the back end of that, of course, is the guides where we run these businesses like from scratch, and we like video record everything we do, all of our thought processes, everything we ever do, lease, offers, screenshots, everything goes into these guides, these documents.
Yep.
And we started with a $2,500 price point up front, or you can pay it off sort of over a period. And we've had a few people buy in, but that's not many comparably to who's visited the site, of course. And we're working on all our metrics, but it's an interesting proposition to go, all right, well, this is 25,000 words and took me months to build and whatever. I'm just going to give it to you for $49. And in the first month, you could just similarly download all of it and leave. Whereas we've started with the 2,500. We've got a few, which is really good as a starting point. But I think we've got, 16 there in the pipeline, which is a really good effort for the time we've been going. But are we stopping ourselves from being able to actually help, thousands or tens of thousands of people because that price point is steep? We're not sure. We're going to have to find out.
Yeah, look, I don't know enough probably about your service offering to give an educated comment, but I would say it's not just price point, but it's payment flexibility, using Afterpay or something to ensure that they're making that financial, psychological investment commitment, but they have a bit more flexibility about their capability of paying it off. For us, it was, we know we give a lot more value than a gym membership. Mm-hmm. How do we make sure we are priced at that point or even less, but still give so much more value? I mean, gyms are great. I own a gym. I'm not anti-gyms, but most people don't use them. It's a waste of money with their membership. And they definitely don't help with motivation, mind, psychology, sleep, nutrition. You go in, you do a great workout, you go out. Whereas we give all this other value and it's still only $14 a week. So that's always kind of been our sort of psychology around our price point. And we've also seen what else is out there for $10 a month, $20 a month. And we know that we absolutely add tenfold on the value that those programs offer. So, but for you, look, it's kind of, do you want to scale it, or do you want to, or does each individual person that you work with require serious one-on-one FaceTime, and you're never going to be able to scale it to tens of thousands of people? Yeah. I think if the answer is the first one, you need to find a price point that's really going to open those floodgates up. And as you said, you test your web hits and your conversion rates. There's probably some baseline data of similar programs that are out there, not similar to you necessarily, but similar online offerings, where you can see what a good conversion rate is. And if you're a long way off that, I'd definitely be scrutinizing your price point, because the last thing you want is for, really hungry, optimistic, entrepreneurial people to not be getting your brilliant content purely because it's out of their price range.
And how do you guys try and judge like the volume of content that you create and put out there? Like how do you actually judge that? Like what's optimized? Is it a percentage of revenue? How do you do that?
As in, what percentage do we reinvest back into content? It's a great question. Look, we don't have a set number. It's interesting. It's kind of, as this space evolves, you just can't sit still, or you'll go backwards. Mm-hmm. I think you sort of see the programs that have rested on their laurels and tried to clearly save their pennies and improve their profit margins have been overtaken.
Is there an example I can look up?
I don't really want to throw people under the bus, but we watch our competitors really closely, and there are definitely programs that when we first launched, that was what we aspired to be, and we have gone past them like they were standing still.
Sure.
And you can tell that they've been overtaken, not just by me, but by, Kayla and a couple of other super programs. And they've now woken up, but it's almost too late. I feel like it's almost too late, that they were perhaps sitting too still for too long, and you can't, not in this space. It's literally like as the explosion of at-home workouts and online training was happening, unless you were continually listening to your members and evolving with the explosion of the sector, you've got a lot of catching up to do.
That's super interesting. And what kind of things have you learnt, or what kind of big mistakes have you made throughout like the 28 journey? Because that's a totally different journey, the online journey.
Yeah, oh mate, lots. I mean, I'm not a tech guy for a start, so it's been the steepest learning curve ever to, understand what, CPAs and LTVs and all this other, jingo jango lingo is. But
okay.
I think one of the biggest learnings was, it was really hard when we had 5 or 6 staff.
Okay.
Wearing lots of hats, outsourcing lots of capabilities to, PR and digital, all your digital marketing and a lot of your tech stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I even look back 2 years ago, we probably had 8 or 9 staff. So we've gone from a team of, let's say, 8 to 25 in the last 2 years. And a lot of that growth was bringing our this outsourced retainer-based agency stuff in-house.
Yes.
And we now have full in-house capability. A tech team of 6 full-time staff, all our marketing, all our content, and the speed in which we can execute, the speed in which we can make decisions, the efficiency in which we can collaborate. I just banged my head against the wall that we perhaps didn't do that earlier. And you can only do what you can afford. It gets quite expensive to have 25 gun staff working in an office when you're only 2 years old. But if I had my time again, I would have done it sooner. I would have, we sort of did what we could afford. I would have probably borrowed money, brought the full team in-house, paid that money back, and I think it would have been a smarter move. But I'm probably more grateful that at least we did it than regretful that we didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, and also as someone that might not have a tech background or let's even like a digital marketing background, it's really difficult to outsource something to an agency like Facebook marketing, whatever it might be, if you don't even understand it yourself. Because often, an agency can't be accountable for the results, basically, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't know how the Google Analytics and how to set up all of the funnels, then whatever they're showing you, you don't really know the truth either, do you?
Yeah, which makes it much, much harder to learn as well. I mean, for me, it was trust and my own education journey, because the better I understand that, the more in tune I am with my business and the better the decisions I can make. Oh, hang on 1 second there, Jock. Sorry, mate, just lost you on my screen. So, yeah, for me, it's understanding the tech stuff as intimately as I can so that we can make decisions. I mean, data is just huge in our business, data analytics, and having our finger right on the pulse to what our members need, what behaviour kind of looks like before they perhaps leave the program, what a good customer looks like, what a bad customer looks like, the age, the gender. There's so many, subtleties to the business as it expands. And it's much, much harder to get educated when you're meeting these agencies on a weekly basis, or you're having, video conferences, when I can literally go, right, let's spend 3 hours in the boardroom and whiteboard this out, explain it to me in layman's terms. I'm not afraid to ask stupid questions, It's my business, so I don't care if you have to explain to me 10 times until I get it. That's what's going to happen. and they like it. You know, it's really nice that they can go, I really am a genius in my own space, and I can explain it to Sam because I get my member. I was a personal trainer for 15 years. I understand exactly what fears and barriers people have before they join, what they need when they join to keep going, how they need to be motivated at the 1 month mark, the 3 month mark, the 12-month mark. They don't get that. So it's about marrying what they get with what I get to give our member the best experience. You know, the best compliment we can get is, Sam, it's like you're in my head. How did you know I needed to hear that when you told it to me? How did you know that's the challenge I needed to be thrown at me? Or that's the kick in the pants I needed from an accountability perspective, or the hug I needed from an empathy perspective. I mean, that's the skill. If you can bring emotional intelligence into an app that wraps its arms around its members, which is way easier said than done, that's when you got that magic that, you know, very few people, if not anyone, can duplicate.
Anyone, yeah, unbelievable. And so, I mean, my last question regarding 28 as well is, you have an enormous sort of user base, and they must all be different kinds of people.
Yep.
How do you relate to such a broad user base?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think the thing that is, for me, I can relate because of the variety of clients I've trained over the years. You know, so it's not about me relating them to me. It's about thinking back to the 70-year-old lady that I trained for 10 years, or the mums that I trained, or the kids that I trained, or the CEO that I trained, and understanding every one of those clients needed to be treated differently. There is absolutely nothing more powerful than being able to relate it to yourself. And the fact that, you know, Snej is a huge part of the program. All the mums and the women love her. They understand the real-time challenges faced when you've got kids and teenagers and, you know, everything to juggle, and your meals need to be affordable and kid-friendly for fussy eaters and quick and easy. That is so powerful. But there's a lot of people out there that they've never trained anyone other than themselves. It's very hard for them to train a petrified 50-year-old woman who has tried 11 things before, is 20 kilos overweight, and they're on the verge of giving up. Whereas I have first-hand experience. You know, I did 80 appointments a week for 16 years and probably had 1 week off a year for those 16 years, you know. So, you know, that's a lot. That's probably 50,000 personal training appointments, in which it's amazing the, you know, the locker of information. And, you know, on a daily basis, I reflect back on that stuff subconsciously. It's like, yeah, it really reminds me of that situation or that situation. And I think the other thing is, because I keep in such close touch now with my online members, it allows me to still be completely in tune with them. You know, we've got a Facebook page, private community. It's got 55,000 people on it now, but I remember when I had 55 and I was still on there every day listening to the feedback. You know, there's still members that joined when we first launched in Feb 2016, still part of the program today. You know, they call themselves original 28ers. And I see a lot of them. You know, we have, not at the moment due to COVID, and it's breaking my heart that we can't do it, but we, once a year at least, I travel to every capital city and we have meet and greets, and we do a workout together, and we do selfies, and we hug it out, and I hear their first-hand stories. And, you know, earlier this year we launched retreats, which was, we had scheduled to do 3 more this year, but it's been wiped out. But that'll be absolutely something that we're going to relaunch next year. And I mean, I love people, and if I can have the opportunity to still get to see them face to face, yeah, that's something that's never going to change. But, you know, I think when it's all about your members and you keep in touch with them and you do what you do because you actually care about it, it never feels like work. You know, it's just an easy thing to do, keep in touch. And Yeah, it's an interesting question because I probably don't reflect back enough that that's a key part of our success, but it absolutely would be.
I think beyond that, of course, it seems that it would be fair to say that like an unwavering self-belief on your part, and then secondary to that, sort of hard work and just consistency. It's like that turning up every day, whether you're hungover and doing the video, turning up to the 55-person Facebook group and writing things in there every single day, period, is a really big factor to sort of the successes you've seen now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, it gets reinforced by the members. If they say they love it, why would you stop doing it? If they say they don't like it, well, then we try and fix it. You know, it seems so simple, but I mean, if it's about them and you're not listening to them, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're spot on, mate. There's, often you don't talk about the hard work because it's not very sexy and it's not what people want to hear, but there has been an enormous amount of sacrifice and hard work going into this business. Every cent that I had in the bank went into setting it up in the first place and continued to go into it for years and upon years. And the amount of sacrifice that I have made has only been matched, if not surpassed, by Snej. Putting up with me, devoting so much of my life to this, and her accepting and embracing the fact that our family is so open to the 28 family, which she loves. She never complains about it once, but I don't take for granted how amazing she's been in the whole process. That's for sure.
That's awesome, man. Such a incredible journey that you've been on. And thank you so much for sharing it today. Really appreciate it, dude. I'm so not surprised at your success. Like I can feel the authenticity, and my bullshit radar is off the charts, legit off the charts.